This learning module covers qualitative research methods. In qualitative studies, the focus is more on understanding a phenomenon than on prediction and control. The sample size is typically small, one person, a few people, or a single group. Research designs include ethnography, study of a culture, case study, in-depth study of a single person or system, and narrative research, telling a person's story. Qualitative research is a very good match for action research, as it looks at experiences and processes, not just outcomes. Qualitative data collection is referred to as fieldwork. Fieldwork includes materials gathered, recorded, and compiled during the study. Fieldwork requires the researcher to immerse himself or herself in the setting over time. The researcher collects as much data as he or she can as unobtrusively as possible. Qualitative data are narrative and visual. A chief form of fieldwork is observation, in which the researcher obtains data by watching participants. An advantage to observational data is that the information is often less subject to participant bias, although researcher bias may be an issue. While observing, the researcher typically attempts not to change the setting. Field notes, which the observer takes during observation, include descriptive information about what the observer has directly seen and heard on site. Field notes also include reflective information that captures an observer's personal reactions and thoughts related to the observations. The researcher avoids evaluative terms in field notes, but instead describes behavior. Observational protocols, which provide guidance about what kinds of behaviors the observer should be looking for, are often used. Such protocols provide the researcher with a focus during the observation, while also providing a framework for the field notes. Another common method of qualitative data collection is interviewing. Interviews are purposeful interactions in which one person obtains information from another person. Interviews allow for data not available through observation alone, which make them a useful complement to observational data. Interviews may be structured or unstructured. Structured interviews involve predetermined questions and are systematic. Interviewees receive the same questions in the same order. In contrast, unstructured interviews are similar to a conversation in that there may be a few questions that the interviewer knows he or she wants to ask ahead of time, but the interview is fairly free-flowing. Both types of interviews can include open-ended and closed-ended questions. Gay, Mills, and Erasian provide guidelines for interviewing in their book, Educational Research. Listening is the most important part of interviewing. Don't interrupt, wait. Tolerate silence. The participant may be thinking. Avoid leading questions such as, "Don't you think that?" or "Haven't you ever?" Keep participants focused and ask for details. Additional guidelines include follow up on what participants say and ask questions when you don't understand. Don't be judgmental about participants' views or beliefs. And don't debate with participants. These latter two things are especially important for maintaining good rapport with interviewees. An interviewee is much more likely to give you honest information when he or she feels that you are trustworthy and that you won't judge. Researchers can collect data through taking notes during the interview, writing notes after the interview, or audio and videotaping the interview. It is recommended that you record whenever possible. Writing notes during an interview is distracting. And writing notes after an interview is difficult because the interviewer may not remember critical information. A third method of qualitative data collection is the use of questionnaires. Because interviews are time-consuming, some researchers use questionnaires and then follow up questionnaires with interviews. Questionnaires allow for larger amounts of data, and, as with interviews, the data are self-report. As with all self-report data, the information can be subject to inaccuracies, although some people are more willing to disclose information honestly on an anonymous questionnaire than in an interview. A final method of qualitative data collection that we'll discuss is examining records. Records include things like archival documents, participant journals, maps and photographs, video and audio tape, and artifacts such as student work samples. These records are incredibly valuable for getting information about the context of a phenomenon. For example, if a researcher is studying the experience of a first-year teacher in a disadvantaged school, materials like disciplinary records, the teacher's notes about each day, and videotapes of student behavior can all provide information that goes beyond classroom observation and teacher interviews. Unlike quantitative research, where the validity and reliability of results can be measured, validity and reliability in qualitative research refer to the quality of the results. Specifically, validity in qualitative research is concerned with the authenticity or trustworthiness of the results. In other words, as you read a qualitative research report, do the results seem credible to you? Did the researcher do his or her job in presenting a believable account of the phenomenon? To increase validity, qualitative researchers often use triangulation, obtaining data from at least 3 sources. When the findings across sources converge, this lends support to the idea that the findings are valid. Reliability is concerned with the consistency of the research methods and the representativeness of the findings. In other words, was the researcher consistent in conducting observation and interviews, and was a sufficient sample of records examined? If so, the findings are less likely to be biased and thus more likely to be representative of the true state of affairs. There are several ways of increasing the validity of qualitative research. These include spending a longer time at the study site, observing numerous times, not just once or twice, debriefing with peers about one's findings to ensure that one is maintaining objectivity, collecting additional records, talking with the participants about the findings to see if they agree with that the findings are valid, and practicing triangulation, obtaining information from at least 3 sources. In addition, Walcott provides practical options to assure trustworthiness in qualitative research. These include talk little, listen a lot, record observations accurately, begin writing early, let readers see for themselves, report fully, be candid, seek feedback, and write accurately.